Hey, beautiful people. It's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for today's Keeping Up with the Real Tea to actually talk about love and marriage, Huntsville. I think it's episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. So much happened in this episode. I almost didn't get the opportunity to come and sit into the space, but it needed to happen, right? It just had to be a thing. So here we are. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into it. So let's get the show on the road.
Staring at herself in the mirror on the restroom door. Voices in her head that mirror what she's heard before.
There we go, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I've just popped the mic in so that we can get all of the happenings of this episode, because there was a lot in there. There was a lot to actually unpack in this episode. So I really wanted to be able to come into the space. Sidebar, I've already got the content for the next, I guess, season of this, because we've got the new season of Basketball Wives coming, and that looks like there's going to be hella demons. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot to unpack there. Lots to talk about, lots of insight that we can get to be able to kind of understand some of our own behaviors and mannerisms, right? See what parts of ourselves we can identify that's reflecting in that environment as well. But yes, and also next week episode is probably going to be during one of the weekdays as well. The following week, I'm going to be away. So it's going to be tricky because this bank holiday weekend was, Libra full moon definitely had the energies. Like there was a lot of movement. So hopefully the energies have been treating you guys well. Actually, there was a lot of insights. Again, another sidebar, I am going to be sort of launching a podcast to really be able to dive into some of these classes that we're getting during the new moon and full moon phases, because there's a lot that's happening. And I don't know if we're taking heed of all of these awakening checkpoints that are showing up for us as a collective. So I'm definitely going to be sort of kickstarting that sort of next month. But there's lots to come. Pretty much safe to say there's lots to come, but keeping in with tonight's episode, because oh god, when I say that there was a lot in the episode, there was a lot that was giving. So we started off the episode finishing up from the conversation in episode 4 with Keke and Tisha, right? That was the first thing that we saw. Tisha kind of left the scene and was like, it's on you, Keke. You know, at this point, it's on you, because Keke didn't necessarily actually move on. Real tea. Keke didn't move on from the situation, potentially maybe because, and I think that's something that she was maybe articulating that may have been a factor as to why she wasn't able to move on. I don't know if they fully unpacked the conversation in terms of her feeling like she was heard, because it felt like maybe she still felt like, I guess, she wasn't really received. I don't know, maybe Tisha didn't necessarily take the time to let her know. However, she needed to receive that, you know, her hurt and pain was being validated by Tisha apologizing and putting it across to her that, you know, she's sorry for the act that she did. The best apologies changed behavior. So I think it was very telling. when that moment happened with Kimmy, because again, this is what I even said in the last episode, right? Tisha's getting a lot of her own behavior reflecting back at her. You know, it's just karma. It's just, what we put out, we have to get back, man. It's just the way that it works. That's why we got to be mindful of what it is that we're out here feeding people and the environment around us, because it has to go back. You know, it has to come back at some point. But I also would agree with Tisha in terms of her statement about it being on Keke. Why? Because Keke's got a longer road to go. She's been holding on to festering nursing, and kind of working through of what was it, 5 years ago, apparently, a 5-year-old wound when it comes to this situation. There's mistrust, feelings of betrayal, feelings of disloyalty, because these are all the same things that Tisha put out there, right? That she was kind of feeling with the situation. So that's how she actually made Keke feel in that situation. Keke hasn't quite healed from that situation just yet. Keke is still, oh God, Keke is still, yeah, because I think she even said, like, do you think I want to hold on to it? Like, I don't want to hold on to it. But I think she hasn't gotten what it is that she felt like she needed from Tisha. But I don't think that Tisha's going to be able to give that to her. It's something that she's going to have to do within herself, which, to my point, is why I agree with Tisha when she says, at this point, it's on you, Keke. Because at this point, there's nothing else that she can do or not do to give to your healing. It's about what you're actually going to take the opportunity to heal from. So prayers out there for Keke, y'all, because this is a 5-year-long wound. I know what those types of wounds are like, how they can fester and bleed into other layers of your spirit, especially when you're carrying resentment, because naturally that's probably what she's been navigating through, since she hasn't necessarily come to that place where, you know, she's at the end of the road of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a long road, man. It depends on how deeply you've been hurt. Like, you can forgive today and then a week or 2 or 3, you're literally back in the same place, feeling bitter, hateful, and resentful because something else has triggered that very same wound to kind of like flare up again. So yeah, this one is definitely on Keke. Hopefully she can get to a place where she has, you know, got to a better place on that journey of forgiveness, and she's kind of like towards the end of, you know, getting to the white pearly gates. Scene 2, we've got Martel and Marceau having their discussion about the sculpt thing. This was interesting because I think it was nice to see that Marceau was, you know, giving Martel his props, and as well Tisha, when we got to like scene 5, she kind of, you know, gave him his props as a businessman, what he's capable of achieving, the way in which, you know, he's able to sustain in areas that they may not yet be, you know, optimize in stabilizing themselves just yet. You know, she was kind of mentioning how what Martel lacks, Marceau has, and what Marceau has, Martel lacks in other areas as well, and that's why they complement each other really well. Should Martel be brought back into sculpt? No, I think that Tisha was right to be able to. I think so I think that both Tisha and Marceau are right with the way that they're handling the situation, which is a good team tactic in terms of this dynamic. So they're actually doing well. I think that Martel needs to actually prove himself again, because whatever spell he was under as he became what we saw in these recent years, okay, that little, yeah, that not so nice little asshole spirit, basically, that was just out here permeating through him and living its best life. because of all of those factors and the behaviors that he exhibited and the way in which those behaviors impacted people like Tisha and Marceau in terms of their relationship. And it's funny, like, I'm glad that they actually reeled up the tape of a few years back when Martel did go and apologize to them, because even then it was actually really challenging for him to just kind of like own the fact that he just wasn't right for doing what they felt like was a mistreatment of their friendship and their marriage and their union. So I think in that regards, it's really difficult. I think that Marceau is right to ask Martel to basically prove himself and allow for them to go through sort of like a testing situation where they can actually just see how well they're able to work with each other now. Because I'm telling you, like, we grow every single day. Like, even when you know someone and you're growing with them, there's still parts of their journey that you miss out, because there's parts of them that grows introspectively that we don't have access to. We're not privy to externally unless they choose to share. So I think that they've both grown in a lot of different ways. And divorce, obviously, Martel has a whole different identity as well, sort of coming back into that space. So it would be a case of getting to know Martel post-divorce and see what the nature of that character is like, that he displays in terms of his behaviors and his actions, and how he chooses to treat the people around him, and how he cultivates his relationship as a result of that. Peep this though, y'all. It's so funny because, like, Martel bled all over and into Melody with his, I guess, feelings of lack, whatever it was that he felt that he wasn't getting, that he felt that he was desiring, that he needed to go outside of his marital home for. Like, that had a significant impact on Mell, right? To the point where she's now, I don't want to say become Martel, because she's displaying similar behavior. So she's kind of pushing people away. A lot of her walls are up. I'm interested to see how long it's going to take Mell to kind of pretty much fall out with everyone. And I know that as we grow, naturally, some relationships, seasons and reasons, right? Destiny said it best during their sort of conversation in scene 6. We're going to get to that, but I just wanted to put that across because I feel like it's interesting as Mell thinks that she's rising above a lot of the pain and hurt that she feels, or feels like she's supposed to feel, or feel like she basically felt for a while, but now she's not feeling it anymore. The reason why she ain't feeling that anymore is because she's projecting it all over onto other people, and she's basically putting a lot of the energy that has been bled into her. She's now bleeding all over people that didn't cut her, unfortunately, in ways. I say in ways because I'm going to talk to you guys about how Mell kind of set herself up. And we do this a lot when we have kind of like a victim complex, in order to be our own superhero, we need to somehow feel the victim. And in a lot of those instances, there are situations where we will consciously and subconsciously cast people in roles. We'll dive into a little bit about that kind of behavior with Mell, but it was just really interesting to see how she basically set Destiny up so that she could again be a hero in her story, which was a battle that she wasn't fighting, but she made it one. And I'm going to tell you what she made, how she made it one, and all of those things. It's just the way that she set Destiny up by not basically being clear on what the standard of expectation was, or miscommunicating the standard of expectation. It's like, well, you should have known. Well, no, you haven't said anything to me. And then in putting it across and putting it back on her in saying that these were things that she should have communicated effectively, to be able to allow for no distortion to take place or occur that would allow for their relationship to now be in this place of volatility. She then didn't necessarily want to take any accountability for the fact that she needed to articulate what it was that she required clearly for that to be sustainable. Because if you go to the shop and you're asking for cabbage, but you want lettuce, chances are you're going to get cabbage, right? You know, like, it's one of those things. You then can't be completely mad at the shopkeeper for giving you cabbage because that's what you asked for. Cabbage, garbage, cabbage, however you want to put it, right? But with the situation with Tisha and Marceau, just kind of like finishing that up, because Martel is now in this new persona, he's still adjusting to this new guy, BTW, Martel post-divorce, right? And he's still learning his boundaries with his ex-wife, and he's still learning about how to maintain a relationship with his kids from this level of a distance that's been created physically based on the distance that has now developed between him and said ex-wife, right? So with that kind of dynamic that's taking place, I think that Tisha's right to kind of like put a pin in it, and Marceau is also right to be able to say, whilst we've got the pin in it and we're kind of figuring out if we want to move forward or if we want to keep this on pause, how about you do an audition and let us see what you're capable of, how well we'll work together, what the situation dynamic may be like. Let's wet our feet a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I think it's natural for them to be able to do so. So I agree with that. That is A-okay. In scene 3, it was a short one with Kimmy and Maurice kind of like discussing the whole thing that happened with Keke and Tisha, and Kimmy being put in the middle. I can't say being put in the middle because she delivered the information to Tisha, she then made it her business at that point. And it's funny because it's like, okay, that was my business to go and let you know that she's out here speaking on your business. But now that you've addressed her about speaking on your business and you guys are now having issues within your business, I don't want to have any parts of that. I get it. You know, at some point it's like, yes, it's for you guys to be able to kind of work out, but who knows if they've been equipped with the tools to be able to navigate through that space. So by you putting that on the cards, you've made yourself involved. Essentially, you've made yourself involved. To what degree you can be selective with, but to some degree, some would say that you're involved in all of it. And for the parties that are involved, that are obviously like, if she didn't go back and tell Tisha, Tisha wouldn't have known. Keke wouldn't have been called out. It would have been something that would have been unsaid. It would have been under the rug, and everybody would have just continued to live their best life. None the wiser about what's under the rug, because they're going to save face with each other and do a whole Keke when they see each other, right? That's how it was going to be. But because Kimmy went and said something, and she felt like she should have, because that was her putting her loyalty to Tisha and letting Tisha know, like, this is what's going on out here in these streets, girl. You might want to, you know, have a conversation with your cousin and find out what's really going on there, what's really good. But yeah, in her doing so, that made her involved, maybe more than she would have liked to be, but by involving herself in the first place, she's involved. So she has to be able to see it through to the level of what capacity her presence is needed in this stirring pot. Okay, because she stirred the pot by bringing the information back, and that's what it is. She wasn't trying to be messy. It just so happens that it's a messy situation because there was already unresolved issues, again, under that said rug that I was talking about, where shit would have just been kept had Kimmy not said anything. So by her putting it out there, she just has to be, you know, ready and willing and open to riding the waves of however the situation pans out. That's what I say with that situation. And it's not a question on whether Kimmy will get pulled in or not. It's a question on when, okay? Because we know Miss Wanda is going to get involved in this situation, and Miss Wanda don't like nobody coming for her daughter. So she's going to be plucking at every part. And I don't know if she has clarified where she stands with Kimmy just yet, because Kimmy kind of like let it be known where we are with certain situations last time. So I don't know if she knows her place just yet, basically, but we shall see how that situation kind of pans out for them. But Kimmy's definitely getting involved to that point of where, what's it called? You know, she's going to get right into the middle of this whole situation when Miss Wanda's hands gets into the mixing pot as well. That part. Okay. And it's funny because Maurice actually said it as well. Like, once Miss Wanda actually gets involved, like, you getting pulled in. Like, she's definitely getting pulled in because Miss Wanda's going to pluck it out. She's gonna root it. But then we actually like had quite the it was interesting because it was like a different tone as well. Moving into Destiny's situation, she's really sort of like giving us like tons of vulnerability this season, whereas I feel like last season we didn't really get much of her vulnerability, and now we're really getting to see like her walls coming down. You know, last season it seemed like she kind of like still had her walls up because there were so many things that she was navigating through. And I think as well, because obviously like she said, she thought she was going to come and do the whole happy family thing, and that's what she was coming down to Atlanta for, and that was going to be their whole situation. So what's she going to kind of like do with the situation kind of like falling apart as quickly as it did as well? Like, let's be clear on that. Like, after she had the kid, literally weeks later, she was, you know, in a situation where she's now navigating through divorce. So there was it's funny because I named that particular scene, like I named that Destiny's Dissension, and we're honestly seeing her dissension sort of like take place. Her how can I put it? Sometimes we have to go back in order to take leaps forward, because sometimes we were like walking in the wrong direction, but it's a scenic route, right? So God allows us to go down that direction, take the little scenic route, see whatever it is that you know, we're seeking to find externally, right? Because God knows that it's all coming back to an internal dialogue that's taking place. Even if He's allowing you to take the scenic route, eventually the introspection must occur in order for the quantum leap into literally where it is that you've been trying to get to. Because that's what's going to happen. Like with Destiny's Dissension point that's taking place right now, like the turnaround for her, when it does turn around, it's going to be quick and impactful in her life in a major way. So now that she's going back because that dynamic wasn't for her, I don't know, and I don't know the dynamics between her and her husband, right? But I don't know, as she continues to grow into her independent archetype, and I want to have, let me even put that down, right? The independent woman. That's going to be one of the topics that we discuss on the podcast, because I'm telling you guys, right? This one is a challenging one for the feminines and masculines to navigate in finding the right balance, right? I think and believe that, you know, Destiny, she's an independent woman. And with that, she's going to continue to grow in that independence abundantly, right? And God, you know, because He knows the level of strength that she has within that archetype of her personality, He's allowing for her to be able to really meet the potential of that. But she has to be pressured. You know, she has to be pressured to see what she's made of. And I believe that potentially now, this is just my opinion, potentially being in the dynamic with her partner would have been something that wouldn't have allowed for her to see that to the fullness of its capacity. So she would have been meeting the potential, yes, maybe, potentially, but in a very mediocre standard, because she would have always been the type of woman, even though she has a capacity to like be here, she would have dialed herself back to be able to sustain that desire for that family unit and dynamic that she wanted, which is why, and it's so funny that God allowed it to be that he actually filed, because where she's about to go, he wouldn't have been able to withstand that. And that's I want to say the God's honest truth, because it just looks like the general universal math. If I was looking at this situation as a spiritual coach from the outside, that's how I would read that situation in terms of what God is, doing in his rearrangement of Destiny's life. The ornaments in her life, how he's reshaping and reshifting her life by switching up a few pieces and putting them in different places on his chessboard that is Destiny's playing field of her life, right? I don't think that his ego would have been able to manage her potential to grow. And I think that she may have always found herself kind of dimming, just so that she could feel as though it was a maturity thing as well on his part, but just so that he could feel as though his alpha is dominant in comparison to her alpha, because they're both pretty alpha, masculine and feminine in their relationship dynamics. So I think he kind of potentially there's parts of himself as well that was dealing with lack of self-worth, being in that dynamic, the responsibilities, the capability of him actually being able to step up to being a husband and father. Like, it all happened very quickly. That's an adjustment period for anybody that's kind of like navigating through certain situations. So I think that God saw that what he needed and what she needed were two different paths. And just like Martel and Melody, he allowed what was necessary for the best of their healing, but also for the best of their growth, and then being able to meet the fullness of their potential. I'm sorry to hear where Destiny's at in life. Can we put some prayers out there for Destiny as well? Because she's been going through it, y'all. I know things are going to be like getting a lot better for her, like I said, when she's able to like get up this mountain of this new level that she's kind of like getting onto. It's going to be better on the other side, but while she's kind of like navigating the journey, let's definitely put some prayers out there for her, because this ascension point is draining her financially, or it's challenging her financially, to actually tap into resources, find the resources that she has, identify the resources that she has, identify how to utilize her network, because that's going to be crucial for what it is that she's actually going to be doing and how she's going to do it with having a child and being a single mom moving forward. So God is really getting her in a position where he can get her in preparation mode. And hopefully while she's going through preparation mode, she can actually allow for herself to not overexert her energy and really allow for herself to receive the help where she needs it. I can see that this year, like I said, with her being vulnerable this season, she's definitely opening herself up a lot more to receiving, which is nice. Mashallah, that's beautiful for her. And it's a good time for her to be able to just receive some love to be poured into her. I think that she has, I guess, the right team and the right support around her. I think that as I'm not going to say as much as it pains me, but I think that Tisha actually, she's a good friend. And I think that Tisha knows how to be a good friend as well. I think she's hella emotional and has a tendency to overreact to situations, but she's working on that. And again, that's another thing that makes her like a valuable friend as well to have, because we're all broken somehow, right? But it's when people are comfortable with staying broken that makes it difficult for us to grow and maintain certain relationships with people. So I think that she has the right support with being able to kind of like have the Scots around her at this point, because I'm not being funny about the Holts, but they have pretty much proven themselves throughout the entire process to be about self. And what do I mean by that? Like, they want to be the forefront and the head runners in anything and everything that they do. And that makes it difficult in friendship dynamics to be able to maintain equal playing field, because sometimes we just are on the same level. Do you see what I'm saying? But with the Holts, I found that they constantly wanted to supersede others, and they wanted to basically demean other people's levels of work and stuff. So it's clearly like, again, reflecting from a self-worth issue in themselves, because now they're placing all their work on the accolades and stuff like that, and using those as things to basically validate themselves and place themselves in positions of value that they don't necessarily see in themselves, and then taking away from other people's values in the process as well, to be able to feed and sustain their own inner demons. But that's a tricky situation for anyone to kind of like navigate through. So Destiny definitely does need to be careful with Melody. I'm glad that Melody decided to end the friendship the way that she did. It's not all on Melody either. I think they both displayed behaviors in the space and dynamic. And I think that, so we're going to go into now, we're just going to go straight into like scene 6 and close this out. Mell and Destiny's, sit down, their brunch again. I felt like Mell came to the table like ready for war. Like, that was a war zone. And it was so funny because like Destiny already knows how Melody fights. Like, she knows her tactics, she knows how she performs in certain situations, she knows how she has a way of wording certain things. It's so funny, right, that Mell was trying to talk about, oh, I would never tell someone to basically like not talk to you or not deal with you just because I'm not dealing with you. But she was literally there doing the very same thing that she's saying that she doesn't do to Tisha and Martel. So it was very like hypocritical. It was an very obscured vision. That was like more of the intentional vision, not the actual transparency of the reality of the stank that she was actually putting out there. So she needs to address those spectacles emotionally, so that she can be clear on what it is that she's actually putting out here in these streets. Because Melody girl, you are not there. You're not in that place where you think that you're out here giving all positive vibes and good energy. That's the persona that you're giving. Is it believable? I think it's achievable. That's what I'd say on that when it comes to the belief factor, because I think that, like I keep saying, you're in the process of working at it. I don't think you're there yet. I think that, like anything else, it takes time in life. There's tweaks that we have to learn. But that's something that I would definitely recommend. She needs to actually like get her spectacles out, because the way in which she is observing herself is very skewed. And because of that, she's missing major opportunities for growth here, because she's saying one thing and doing exactly the very thing that she says that she does not do, which is why she's getting realities that she does not want. And she's continuing to perpetuate these things from her victim. So it's so funny, right, because there's so many layers to this situation, right? Real tea. Now, so what's really sort of like taking place in the dynamics with Melody's situation, there's so many multi layers of her that's engaging with this evolution that's taking place right now. So that part of herself that doesn't necessarily feel worthy of certain situations, right? That's the part of herself that is having this victim complex, because its self-worth has been depleted based on certain experiences, based on certain traumas. She's developed like a victim complex, but it seems as though she found herself during maybe her high school years. She was able to basically kind of wear a certain masked, I guess, to be able to hide well enough from others that they would actually believe that she is not as broken as she appeared to be on the inside, right? And it's funny because, like with Destiny, because she was Melody's friend, she knows the different parts of Melody. She knows the different parts of her that's speaking. It seems like she obviously, like when she mentioned the condescending thing, and then Mel directly went into moments of condescension straight after that. Clearly, she's not in control of these demons just yet. Clearly, she's not in mastery of these elements of herself just yet. So she still has to work on these areas. That's all God's saying, girl. That is all God is saying. Okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. Okay. It doesn't even make you a sad person. Sometimes it just makes you a person in process of healing. You're in the process of your healing. It's a process. And you have to go through the layers of yourself that actually needs to be nurtured by you. And those are some of the areas that needs to be nurtured by herself. Like this little I don't need anyone and this mean girl thing that she's kind of like putting off. She's just not coming off how she thinks she's coming off. And I don't know if it's just me, but if you guys think something different, comment down below, because I'm not trying to come for Mel. I just feel like she's not coming off how she thinks that she's coming off, because she's being contradictory to the very thing that she's saying that she is. It's like when she sat there and said that she didn't cheat on Martel the entire time, but then when we're sat on the sofa at reunion, it's so funny because basically her and Destiny still kind of like navigating through the stuff that did and didn't happen necessarily at the reunion. But like at the reunion when she sat there, and then, you know, because Martel said that he had a tape and she was saying that she gave somebody fellatio, she's now saying that she received fellatio. She don't know what he's talking about. And then just kind of like dismissed his whole now. She has a tendency of doing that. Like everybody else is wrong and she is the only one that's right. Her perspective is the only honest perspective. But your perspective is very skewed, girl. Your perspective is very biased. Your perspective is very Melody, babe. Okay? I just want to put that out there because I feel like for somebody with all this talk and all of this, you know, yeah, that she keeps putting out here, she's really not backing her talk. Her follow through is poor, almost borderline pathetic. So she definitely needs to work on that, because the image that she's projecting versus the persona, like the person that she actually is and the characteristics of that persona, they're not adding up. The math isn't mathing. It's not mathing. So she needs to go back to the drawing board and do something. I think that Destiny handled the situation well because she knows how to navigate this Melody, right? I think last time Melody found her in a vulnerable moment. So she was able to be triggered. And I think she learned from that because she understood how Melody has the potential to trigger her and how insensitive and irresponsible Melody can be with that in certain instances. And sometimes it's conscious, because I see sometimes with Melody, certain things are very premeditated and very much premeditated. Y'all saw how she came and she was like ready with the phone and she's like this. So she came there wanting to clean that up, right? She wanted to clean that up. Great. She actually managed to clean that up. It's good. I'm glad that she was able to vindicate herself from what she perceived was a lie. And I can't say that it wasn't a lie, because to Destiny, she probably felt like they didn't speak as much as they used to during the period or course of when they were filming. And I think that that's what, I don't know if she did get the opportunity to like say that, but I didn't hear it. Because I feel like that's what Melody was really missing in this space. Like by the sounds of it, what they the dynamics that they had, that was very surface conversation. I wouldn't even personally consider that a catch up with my friend either. So for Melody to kind of like bring these receipts out here and kind of like use those as a factor to the situation, she didn't get it. She completely missed the class, which is again why she's failing at friendship classes, why she's missing opportunities to get points in friendship class, because for her it's about what she's getting and not getting in the friendships, not so much. And I'm not going to say that she's not a good friend, because this isn't what it's about. It's just everybody has areas and room for improvement. And I feel like I seem to be going particularly hard or ham on Melody because she's the main cast member that is going particularly hard and ham about all this growth that she's having and all these changes that she's going through and navigating. Okay. Tisha, she's still coming into her own because she's navigating through her own changes as well. I felt a little bit more, yeah, I could see that she's settling into herself in this episode. I felt a little bit more like it was a little bit believable, like she's now settling in it and she believes that this is the person that she has the potential to really like become, right? So that's a good thing, but that's pretty much everything, guys. Like I definitely think that Mell came on a warpath. Destiny handled the war zone very well, if you ask me. And what we want to know, few things. So comment down below, let me know, do you think that Martel should be allowed to buy back into Scott? Do you think that's a good business move? Do you think that's a good friendship move? Do you think that's a good personal move? Like, what do y'all think about that? Definitely, like, I don't even want to say, do y'all think that Kimmy's going to get drawn into the situation? Comment down below and let me know, like, how do you think Kimmy's going to get dragged into the situation? Because Miss Wanda is going to come for her. We already know that to be facts. It's just a matter of timing and how it's going to show up. And lastly, like, where do you guys stand on the whole Melody Destiny friendship dynamic? Like, do you guys even care? I don't think that friendship serves either of them. I don't think that Melody is going to learn. I don't think she cares enough about Destiny to learn what it is that she needs to be learning from her friendship classes, because that's the main thing. In order to really learn about what you need to do in order to get out of the class and actually get them grades and get your release papers, you actually have to have a certain level of care. And sometimes it depends on the teacher. It depends on the dynamic that you have with the person that is basically orchestrating the lesson and presenting the lesson for you to be able to self-reflect or really just kind of like reflect on the external circumstances that kind of like occurred, you know, within the environment. But either way, do you guys feel like that friendship is right to be over, or do you feel like they should continue to work at the friendship and see maybe if they could continue to work on some deeper levels of conflict resolution? I'm going to say no to the conflict resolution because I don't think that Mell's there just yet. It's an accountability thing that just isn't there. And without that accountability thing being acknowledged, there is no such conflict resolution that's taking place. There's simply just a master manipulation that's occurring and it's just gameplay. So I don't think that conflict resolution is an option at this point because both parties aren't actually ready to resolve the conflict. I don't believe genuinely that Melody wants to resolve the conflict. I believe that she's on a warpath. She's on a warpath. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take her to self-destruct. That's the final question, guys. Comment down below and let me know, how long do y'all think it's going to take Melody to get herself fully isolated out here in these streets? No friends, Billy no mates, like Maggie, nobody wants to hang with your panky, okay? Nobody wants to hang with your panky, Maggie, okay? How long do you think it's going to take for Melody to get to that place with the situation, as far as the way that she's treating all of these friendships, because they seem to be very fickle and fleeting for her? Okay. All of that awesomeness being said, y'all, I'm going to love you guys and leave it there. I've got to go unpack because I'm going away for the next few days, and you guys won't see me until I'm back, hopefully with a nice tan, y'all. Hopefully I'll be looking nice and fresh for y'all. But I will see you guys next week, I guess. Yeah, probably like next Monday or so. We'll come back in, chop it up, and see what we've got to unpack with the next episode. On that note, I'm going to love you guys and leave you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys thought of the content. Give me a thumbs up if you like my vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe. Subscribe. I'd love to have you. And you can get brought into the fold. You know, we can just chop it up. Okay, that part. On that note, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ta-ra, guys.
All the things they said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head and tend to keep her mind at war. All the things they said to hold her back, they keep her locked inside of all the times when she's been hurt before.
Ta-ra, guys.